I've got my poppy on, but what I'm going to talk about is maths teaching in Cumbria. Yesterday I launched an interview I've been driving for ages and finally got with a guy called Geoff Faux, who was the advisor for maths education in Cumberland and then Cumbria for over 20 years. Of course, at the end of this video and in the description, I'll place a link to that interview. And in that interview, I gave Geoff the chance to explain what he values and what he's done in his own words and just to be him. So today's live stream is a chance for me to reflect on that and chat about it. Of course, if you join me, hi, Mahmood. If you join me, if you have any questions about maths education, they take priority. But yeah, I'm going to talk about maths teaching in Cumbria. So the video that I launched yesterday gives only a tiny insight into what Geoff was doing in Cumbria, his problem-solving culture of maths teaching. He wrote more about it in this book, Once Upon a Time When Teachers Worked Together. And you can see some of the culture that surrounded that in this book here, the SMP project, how teachers were working to create resources that really worked for all children. And he ran this amazing training at Higham Hall where he took teachers away for several days at a time. And the kind of task he worked on in the video I launched yesterday represents some of what they were doing, but there was a lot more to it than that. So what was... Geoff had a massive legacy internationally. He worked a lot internationally. He did lots through the Association of Teachers of Maths, still gives plenary conferences, has recently until lockdown. But he also stayed based in Cumbria, and after he stopped working as the county advisor, he continued to have a group of heads of maths secondary, heads of maths, until they retired, and he continued to meet them socially. And then he and I set up a group, I think it was 2006, that ran until lockdown. We did it together initially, and then he took it on when my life changed a bit. So his legacy was not the particular way of teaching that he described in the video, because that hasn't survived. It was there particularly in one school. It was there in Stainburn where they had the 100% coursework GCSE. But his legacy was about having highly skilled teachers doing what they thought was right for the children in front of them. And that really varied from school to school. So at Wyndham you had hugely internationally respected mixed ability teaching, which used a lot of those skills and taught maths in low floor, high ceiling problem solving ways that meant that all the children could access it and fly with it no matter what their background in maths was. What else happened yet? Southfield, Dave Prothero, sadly no longer with us. He had the children with the most challenges and he really knew what to do with them. Of course, he did a lot with them in football, and in those days teachers did a lot cross-curricular as well as just teaching maths. I mean, extracurricular rather than cross-curricular. But he really knew what to do with the classes that had immense problems with their underlying maths skills. They would be playing games last lesson on a Wednesday that were of course maths games, but they felt it was a huge treat, while he did interventions one-to-one in small groups with the kids who need it, chased up the missing homework. So it was a reward for 3 good lessons and homework done that you got to play games, but they were underlying numeracy games, and they were the anchor of the way those classes functioned. Those classes with the most challenges, and of course all that was improved out of existence. St Joseph's, you had Chris Cleburne and Morgan Sweeney and Sadi Boutiba, who were using the Shell Centre maths, which was really powerful and good. Whitehaven, you had Mr Ward doing international cultural maths, writing. The teachers wrote the schemes of work that reflected the culture of the school and what it was trying to achieve. At Benny's, at St Benedict's in Whitehaven, still got some of my books from teaching there. I've taught in all these schools apart from Stainburn. Yeah, we had that, and it was just fun. It was much more traditional. Benny's was a much more traditional school, and that was okay. I am not suggesting that the intention was to eradicate schools using traditional strategies where they worked. They worked. The aim was just to be able to work around them where they weren't working, or where every teacher was confident that they could do something better, which isn't easy to achieve, and everyone knew that. And then, of course, at Ian's side, in Cleator Moor, they had the Mode 3 GCSE, which was highly tailored to developing the specific skills that children needed for the industries around them. And then I went in, by the time I went in as the last head of maths there, we were still using, and I chose to use contextual questions because they grabbed the children much more. But by then, of course, we're entering the technology age, so we also had My Maths, and I could have children working on individualised learning programmes that really suited them. And that was how we achieved the amazing results there that we achieved. So all of that was under Geoff Faux. He was the mega brain behind it because he empowered teachers to do what they thought was right for the kids in front of them. And he constantly put them out of their comfort zones in terms of maths and got them used to what that felt like and how amazing it was. So they were much more comfortable listening to children in the classroom and trying to understand what children were trying to say to them, even when it really threw them. And that leads us into the primary schools, where I think the most extraordinary things happened, because most primary schools had one teacher who was on training with Geoff Faux, and others became specialists in different subjects. So you might have, say, a year 3 teacher, that's 7 to 8 year olds, who'd been on Geoff's training, and they absolutely listened to the children all the time. The thing about being forensic in the way that Geoff taught us to be was that it shifted us from the idea that maths teaching was about transmitting one way of doing maths to children, empty vessel children, who were just ready to learn the one way of maths that we thought was right and we thought they needed to learn, to tuning into what children were already thinking and trying to mesh everything together and make links between it. And these teachers, which are the teachers that I was picking up in 2004 when I was starting to develop this training, they were absolutely brilliant. They would pick up the children who had all sorts of gaps in their maths learning, and they would do an amazing job to sort them out, drive them on 2 or 3 years of progress in 1 year, and then they would be ready to fly for their next teachers who had a simpler journey to take, because these kids had amazing foundations in maths. And it was all about the teachers going from thinking there was one way of doing maths to recognising there were lots, trying to tune into what the children were doing and trying to mesh it all together. And that led to this understanding of the underlying structures of maths, which exists in the videos that I've tried to share here. And I don't see anywhere else. I don't see that understanding of it anywhere else in the world. People talk about it and hypothesize about it, but we deeply understand it. So it's been really difficult times in maths education. I mean, as a head of maths, I was one of the heads of maths where Ofsted came in and just destroyed many of my best teachers, had huge damage on the school. And I live every day what teachers are going through. I mean, last weekend I had to do 6 hours. I mean, I'm only teaching 3 days a week just now, but I had to do 6 hours of admin that was absolutely pointless. But there's no feedback loops, there's no way of dealing with it. The school couldn't cut it out, they couldn't prevent it happening. There was nothing in it, and I had to do that instead of preparing lessons and thinking about my teaching and reflecting on it, because there's only so many hours in the weekend. I don't know. And it's incredibly hard to run high quality training because all schools are ambushed all the time with the free government training. And I know there's people in that who are trying to do it better than that training provides for, but it does mean that really highly skilled people have to go abroad if they're going to run successful training business. It's just, how do you communicate with head teachers who commission training when they get ambushed all the time with the free national training? Anyway, I said I wasn't going to, I made a decision not focus on the negatives, although I do just have to touch on the fact that all this thrived in wise democratic systems in Cumbria at county and MP level. We've always had county councillors and MPs who just worked cross-party with tremendous wisdom on all of this, and we still have Sue Sanderson, who's been county councillor, who's the lead on education, has been so amazing in bringing schools together during COVID, and it's all being shut down. And I better not go there because I will just be in tears. So the positives are that lots of people came to the UK and took away what they saw and have developed it overseas in the international schools community, in Finland, in Singapore, and Australia has an amazing community of maths educators. So there's a lot out there that we can tap into in ways we couldn't before because of global technology and communication technology. So that's positive. I'm trying to make my channel a positive, and I structure all the videos in ways where if a teacher is being required to teach from a pre-written scheme, they can watch my video and just understand a bit more about what they're doing and some of the preconceptions that children may have, so they're able to be a little bit more agile in their lesson and connect with children and have some of the amazing, positive, powerful classroom experiences where kids are just positively transformed because they can suddenly do and understand maths. The other positive just now is MESME, MESME, where secondary school masterclasses are being run for kids from bog standard comps, lots of kids on pupil premium, the disadvantaged subsidy money in those classes. So if you're a secondary school teacher and you want to learn the skills in the Geoff Faux video, you can by taking some of those classes, and you do something amazing, and you can then take those teaching skills back to your own classes. So I'm teaching some of those just now if anyone wants to ask me any questions. I'm loving doing that as well. Okay. Good luck to you all. Take care. Bye.